I carried an inhaler everywhere I went my entire life because I was 14 and after asthma attack, I would always break my running times. And I thought, why is that? And then I went to a doctor's office and I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs on the wall, and it showed a healthy airway, a bronchial tube, and it showed an infected one. That was it. I go like, oh my God, I've been working out my lungs with resistance. After the infection is gone, now they're stronger and I can breathe better. That's why I break my running time. 3.5 weeks with my prototype, I've never had an inhaler anymore.
What does the O2 trainer do for people?
95% of the people are breathing incorrect. If you look in the mirror and I tell you to take a deep breath, everybody does this. Once you do that, 4 to 6 of these breaths is the same as one diaphragmatic breath. Gigantic difference. It will force you to use your diaphragm. So once you get that breathing fixed, and then you give those muscles also more endurance, so you delay fatigue by God knows how much.
Great. I think a great place to start, what I'm baffled by is your athleticism when you were competing. And I'd also like to know if you're, doing some things nowadays to try to sustain some of that athleticism. But where did that come from? I mean, you used to do these jumps in the ring where you're doing a jump split and it seemed like you had great mobility, great stamina, great strength. Where did some of that come from?
My dad's side of the family, they were all track and field guys. So I was doing track and field already when I was 10. Needless to say, running and all that was hard for me for my asthma, but I was going to be, believe it or not, the Dutch Bruce Jenner. That was my goal because he was the 1976 Olympic gold medalist in decathlon, which I loved. So I was really good javelin, high jump, long jump. Everything was going really well. And then injuries started coming already, and which is really weird because I think it's the cortisones that killed my career. I think they gave me a lot of cortisone. I was very sick as a kid. I had a horrible skin disease everywhere. And I had severe asthma attacks, like weak in bed, not able to eat asthma attack, right? Like that. And they pumped me full with cortisones. I don't think they knew the long-term effects of that yet. So it started messing with my tendons at an early age. Somehow I had a career out of it in MMA. But then at the very end, it all came back. I remember the exact pain what I had when I was a young kid. And that stopped my career. There was too much, the pain.
And then nowadays, are there some things that you do to try to maintain some of that athleticism, or do you do more like just like basic lifting and stuff like that?
Basic lifting. I just got some weights for myself. I got a bench here. I got an infrared sauna. I have a cable machine. I do punching and kicking, the audio workout that I have. A lot of fighters are using that. There's a next upgraded version of that, which is like really freaky crazy, fast, 10 rounds, 3 minutes. I just fly through those things. But my workouts are like 40-minute stops, but it's all supersets. It's like there's no rest. I don't like to sit down and take a minute rest. I just like to go into a different exercise back and forth the whole time. That's why we're doing supersets.
When you were fighting, because you were big, you were jacked, did you do any type of resistance training back then, or was it all body weight? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, a lot of body weight and a lot of cable machines, punching drills, all that stuff. But what I realized also is that I was one of the first cross trainers because they didn't do that. So everybody was getting tired. I realized very early on that the combination, the wrestling, the submissions, and then the standing, if you combine it, that makes you tired because it blows all your muscles up, which is going to make it harder for you to inhale and exhale because all these muscles are now tight. So I always figured, why don't I do power training with stamina on the side? So I would do I had 12 stations. I would do 3 exercises for 50 seconds, 50 seconds, give me 10 seconds to go to the next exercise, really drain myself. And then the fourth exercise was all the time hitting the bag or kicking the bag. It was something really powerful to bring that heart rate back up and then do the whole thing. So let's say biceps, triceps, punching, kicking. Biceps, triceps, punching, kicking. Did that 4 times in a row, boom, up to the next 2 exercises with a stamina exercise. And once I started doing that, that's when the stamina started really becoming big for me because, needless to say, with my asthma that I had when I was a kid, I was always afraid of getting tired. But then somehow I wired myself in such a way that I started enjoying getting tired. I just brainwashed myself because I figured I'm going to have to get tired. So if I'm afraid of it, it's not a good thing. So I start constantly when I got tired, I want more tired. I love this. I love this. I just started doing that. And what do you know? Within weeks, suddenly, I needed it. It was almost like if I wouldn't shout it, I wouldn't get the effects of it. So, and then suddenly I became addicted to getting tired. And that's a good thing to have once you start fighting, because then, I had to literally slow myself down at times because I would train too much and I would overtrain myself. So I had to watch out for that. So yeah, mixing it up from early on.
Did you do that with anything else? Like, it sounds like you kind of hypnotized yourself into enjoying getting tired. Did that work with anything else that you did as a fighter, or?
Yeah, as to get relaxed and to bring my heart rate down, I would have these weird things which I didn't know at the time. Now I know because I dove into the breathing. Now I know why this all is. But I would always get and I would make a low vibrating tone in my belly. I would vibrate my tone, and I would do like a 4-second inhale with an 8-second exhale. And that would really calm me down. I go, my God, it's working. Now I know I'm stimulating the vagus nerve, and actually the vagus nerve to do that is that breathing pattern that I did. Also humming and singing. So automatically I put two together. I did the humming and I did the breathing, and it always worked. And then somehow also for my mind, if I had a headache, I'll do the same thing, but I go with a higher tone, because then my skull vibrates. And I always thought it was the vibration of the skull or the vibration of my stomach, whatever it was. It all got me down. I remember there was a doctor came in like an hour before the fight one time, and all the fighters were there, and he was no clue why he was taking my heart rest and all that stuff. And he goes, "Oh my God, Mr. Ice." I go, "What do you mean?" He says, your heart rate like 49. I go, "So?" He goes, "Yeah, that's very low, which is before a fight." But I think it is because I was doing that exercise the whole time to get myself completely calm.
In your fight career, I heard you kind of mention that it was important for you to be calm, because sometimes you can get into the fight and you can get irritated and you could just kind of lose your cool, I guess, a little bit. And so you would have whoever your corner man was, that was kind of the main thing for them to teach you to calm down. Did kind of the breathing coincide with some of that?
Yeah, no, because at the time I didn't know it was because of the breathing that I got relaxed, but it worked. I put these big R's on my hands with a big Sharpie for relax, which coincidentally in Holland is rustig. That was the word I was going for, which is also relax, but that's in Dutch. So coincidentally it starts with the same letter. So I had these big R's on my hands, and then my corner, yes, every time somebody would hit me, you'll hear them shout, stay calm, because they know I'm a hothead. And once you go to Japan and you find out on the day of the fight that you're fighting one round of 30 minutes against the guy who was 33 pounds heavier, which I also didn't know. So that was like a smack in the face. And I go, oh, I gotta slow down, because if I empty myself the first minute and a half and I can't put the guy away, I got 28 and a half more minutes to go. So, that's when the R's came on my hands. That's why I started telling my corner, which was my manager. I never had a coach. I trained myself. So I always had my manager in the corner just shouting, breathing, stay calm. That was the only thing he said. And it worked. So.
How did that happen? Like that you end up fighting somebody that's 33 pounds heavier than you?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. That was the rules. It was, I didn't know. I arrived there. I thought it was weird. There was no weigh-in the day before. But then I thought, you know what? The Japanese, I'm fighting a Japanese guy. They're known for their honesty. So I think it would be good. And then I thought, did we talk about a weight? And it was really weird. So the next day I'm going to the event. Tall guy, 6'3", walks up to me. And I say, you're the promoter. He goes, no, I'm fighting you. I go, oh, hey, nice meeting you. I say, you're not too heavy. What is your weight? And he was 33 pounds heavier. I go, okay. And then the promoter walked up right away. And I go, is he not too heavy? He says, no, Mr. Rutten, we have no weight classes. Everybody fights everybody. So I go like, yay, okay. I tried to force a smile. And then I say, oh, before you leave, how many rounds do we have? He says, 1. I go, great. How many minutes? He goes, 30. I go, great. But inside my mind, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Now I'm fighting this freaking guy, 33 pounds heavier in a 30-minute round. Yeah, but I think that made my career. I truly believe so, because before in Thai boxing, I was a hothead. So I won 9 fights, 8 in the first round, 1 in the second round. And that was nice and calm. Boom, they hit me. Okay, it's over. Rah! Destroy until somebody is dead, which is not a good game plan to have as a fighter, because, if you have a really good opponent who can take a punch and you can't put him away, you're going to pay for it in the second and the third round, and you're going to lose. But it worked always. It worked for me. Now, but I was always stressed. My mind I was too nervous, I think, I hit and I just wanted my way out and I was just destroying my opponent and that was it. But I wasn't fighting like I was fighting in the dojo. There's a lot of these guys, they spar and they think they can fight. It's nothing compared to fighting. Once you go from a dojo to fighting under pressure, it's a whole different animal. And it took me a while to get that click, and the first click, that was in Japan. And while I'm fighting, and I'm always talking about this, it was the most insane thing. While I'm fighting, I'm thinking, what is going on? I would hear people speaking English. I would know what the conversations were about. I was listening to, I was so open, my corner, I could almost hear him breathe. You have to understand, in Japan, nobody makes a sound, right? So if I sit in the 30th row and I speak like I'm speaking right now, I can literally talk to my fighter. I don't have to yell. I can just speak like I'm speaking right now. It's absolutely quiet. Nobody says a thing. When somebody gets hit, whoa, they go crazy. Whoop, and it's quiet again. So I think the combination with the 30 minutes fights, the 33 pounds heavier, realizing, the calmness in the building and the R's on my hands, suddenly I was fighting like I used to do in training, in sparring. And once you master that, then fighting becomes really fun because then you start, you can try your things out, what you do, right? So throwing baits out, let's see if he reacts. And then it became so much fun after that first fight, but it blew me away. There was this moments in this fight that I still think till this day. I go, how came it together? It's really weird. There's like two people were in me. Like one voice is very an annoying voice. He wants you to wrap it up, and the other voice is the calm voice. And always listen to the calm guy. I always said, and I started doing that, and it completely changed my career. And then suddenly, boom, here I am talking to you guys like many years later and a bunch of world titles. Crazy.
I think you have like a superhero story. Hopefully one day they make your story into a movie. You had severe eczema growing up. Sound like that was a tough thing to deal with and a tough thing to live with. You got made fun of and picked on for it. And then I think eventually you found some MMA, you found some ways to defend yourself, and that pretty much kind of saved your life, right?
That's it. Yeah. I saw a Bruce Lee movie. That was it. Enter the Dragon when I was 12. It took me 2 years to convince my parents to do it. And finally they allowed me, and I started training and worked with the adults. An adult took me under his wing and he told my mom and dad, it's okay, I'll bring him with the adults. I'll take care of him. And in 6 weeks, 2 months, I started beating the adults. And then I overheard these guys talking in the dressing room about me. Oh my God, did you see that kid? Man, that kid's got a lot of talent. Well, as a kid, if you only get bad stuff thrown at you, hey, leper, hey, this, hey, that, but then suddenly adults start speaking highly of you, you tend to listen to the adult. And thankfully I did, and it got me more confident. And then I got in a fight with the biggest bully in my school. Knocked him out, one punch, broke his nose though, there was a problem. So now the police showed up because he had to go to the hospital to set his nose or to the doctor. And then my parents took me off martial arts right away because it took me 2 years to convince them because they thought it was violence. And this was confirming, of course, it was violence. And I always have to say this in defense of my mom and dad. I never told them I was bullied. So I know 100% if my dad would have known, he would have said, no, leave him there because, he needs to defend himself. But they had so much work with me already. I mean, mummifying me, like I said, putting creams on me every single night, bandages around. I would scratch him off in the middle of the night. She had to do it again, with my asthma attacks. I mean, I couldn't go out of bed. I had to pee in bed, I had to do everything in bed because I can't even eat. Drinking water that was literally through a sponge and then hopefully that it doesn't shoot into your lungs. So, I didn't want to put more worries on them. And that's why I never mentioned it.
Looking back at that, do you, you've learned a lot about like nutrition. You learned a lot of things over the years. Could there have been something that could have helped you maybe more quickly at that time with eczema and asthma?
No, I think it was just one of these things. Inspirator muscle training would have helped me at that time. That's literally where the idea came from me to start the O2 trainer. Because I was 14 and after an asthma attack, I would always break my running times. And I thought, why is that? It's probably the medication I'm taking, right? That's what I was thinking. And then I went to a doctor's office and I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs on the wall. And it showed a healthy airway, a bronchial tube, but it showed an infected one. That was it. I go like, oh my God, I've been working out my lungs with resistance, and therefore, after the infection is gone, now they're stronger and I can breathe better. That's why I break my running times. So I started training with like washers in front of my mouth with little holes in it. Try to pull the air through, which is super dangerous, of course, because if it shoots in your lung, that's it. If it bypasses the bronchial tube, that's it. No more Heimlich, you're dead. So thankfully I caught that on really early. And then many years later, I started actually making it. And that's how it came together. So I think for every person, it's very important to strengthen those breathing muscles, especially for asthma patients. 3.5 weeks with my prototype, I've never had an inhaler anymore. I carried an inhaler everywhere I went my entire life. I had to. If I would sneeze violently, my lungs close, have to spray them open. Every workout, every training, every time I warm myself up for like 30 seconds, 1 minute, lungs close, spray them open, and then I can go. And suddenly to be free of an inhaler, that was big for me.
So with what you're talking about, training those, training your diaphragm, training the inspiratory muscles, people can reverse their asthma?
100%. That's, you cannot get rid of your infections. Like, so for instance, if you're allergic to pollen, the autotune inspiratory muscle training is not going to do anything about it. But what it does is that it makes your breathing so strong, your inhaling so strong that it just pulls the air straight through the infected area. I tell people, if you buy an auto trainer, I'm going to need to see 30 videos of you doing it though, because everybody says, oh, this is easy. It's only 4 minutes a day. Yeah. But after a week, they stop because, oh my God, it's too hard. They start sweating from it because you're working out your breathing muscles. So, and I say, if after a month, it's not 70% or more gone, that you use your inhaler like 70% less, I'll give you money back. And it's not one person who caught me up with this. And I think my friend in Holland, he, after I cured mine, I shouldn't say cured, it got much better, but I never needed an inhaler anymore. I sent it to a friend of mine in Holland. He sells them actually in Europe now. Because 8 days later, I knew he had asthma, but I didn't tell him anything. I said, just start using this thing. 8 days later, he says, dude, my asthma is gone. I go, we're up to something. I didn't know it was inspiratory muscle training. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that my lungs weren't doing the work, that your lungs are just two bags, that it's actually your diaphragm and your intercostals are breathing for you. Well, they create that vacuum to open up your lungs. All these things I had no idea. I just thought, like, if I do it, then it's going to be, and even crazier in Japan. What I would do abs before the fight. Everybody was thinking I was crazy. Why would you do that before a fight? I said, no. But what I did then, I get my manager, he back and back, he hooks my arm and then he leans over. So I would lean and I would stretch my abs out. That's what I thought I was doing. Now I was stretching my abs out, but what I was also doing, I was stretching my intercostals out. And once your intercostals are stretched out, it's much easier for them to spread. And I always thought it helps me so much with breathing if I do this. I had zero idea. Now, many years later, and I dove into breathing. Now I know that all the decisions I made there all the way back were exactly what the tests and everything is showing to me right now. Even that getting relaxed, that was a big one. There was another one. Oh, I had a submission, the Bas Rutten neck crank. It's not a neck crank. It's like a body crunch. And I told all the fighters in my dressing room, I say, watch, today I'm going to finish this guy with a submission that I came up with. And what I'm doing is I wrap the guy around me. So I lay his side mount. It's hard to explain. I grab his head, grab one leg, and I squeeze him and I wrap his whole body around me. What happens is that he can't expand his chest anymore. Well, if you can't expand your chest, you can't breathe. That's how your lungs work. So if he just took a deep breath in, he can hold that move for as long as he can hold his breath. As soon as he exhales, he can't inhale anymore. And he taps. And I won the fight like that. And people go, dude, what is that? I go, I just stop him from breathing, but I have no clue how that's even possible. Now I understand why, because now I know that chest expansion is the way you breathe.
Mm. Did you ever get into some nasal breathing for training purposes?
Not for training purposes. It's always good. Nasal breathing is always good to do. But people focus too much on that. I think it's ask Wim Hof, just get your air in. Now, needless to say, you want the olfactory epithelium, the epithelium it's a place higher up the nose. It's in your nose conchae, that's what they call it. And then that's for your smell. And if you breathe through your mouth, there's a chance that things get dried up. You can cause blind smellness, that's what they call it. There's a name for not recognizing your body, not recognizing one or two more spells. So you need to make sure that you keep doing that. Also, nose breathing will give you more, nitric oxide. That's it takes for that. It's also better for your teeth. It's all, teeth, crowded teeth and all that stuff. It's all for mouth breathing. Open faces, the long faces that kids have right now is for mouth breathing. Like a lot of people mouth breathe, which is simply not a good thing to do. But people always say with an O2 trainer, they say, yeah, but you do use it, go through your mouth. I go, okay, let's break this down. You breathe about 24,000 times a day, right? 1,500 of those breaths through your mouth, not going to make zero difference. O2 trainer is 30 breaths, so it's not going to do anything. Plus, what it also does is it strengthens your inspiratory muscle system. So after you're done with the O2 trainer, it's actually easier for you to breathe in through your nose because you have a more powerful breathing system now. So, but yeah, nose breathing is important.
I want to know, what does it take to be able to use that level 1 consistently? like how, because I think right now at most I can maybe do 3 minutes and 30 seconds on a good day. And then it's just like, I can't, right? What does it take?
I'm not there. I'm at 2. I like 2. I do 5 minutes. That's what I do. I set a clock, a timer. I go for 5 minutes. And actually, like the last 4 weeks, I start getting stronger again. Really weird. I plateaued at like 38 repetitions, 40. And now suddenly I do 46. I go, whoa, where did that come from? So apparently it's starting to kick up again. And I thought maybe I go to 1.5, which I tried last week. Mm-hmm. But I struggle too hard with that. It's like too much and it's like mentally getting on me. And I think it's really good to just go back to 2 and just do more repetitions. The payload should be 70, 80%. And I'm already doing way more than that. I do like 90%. But they say if you just 70, 80%, that's already really good to increase your inspiratory muscle system. So I think we're wired the wrong way. We always want to go to the hardest setting. See, the same as with diving, right? How deep can we go? How high can we go? We always want to have the maximum thing. And I say with this, just relax. Don't tell anybody what you're doing. So you don't have to feel bad or feel good, just do it. And I do it with setting number 2 and I do like 44 repetitions in 5 minutes. And that just makes me feel really good. So now if I go to 50, I will go to 1.5. Now I have to. But I need to see the first guy. You're doing 1, right? And you said you're doing it in 3 minutes.
Like on a good day, it can be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Today, it was like 2 minutes, and then I had to go to 1.5.
Yeah.
So it's like on a good day.
It's really freaking hard. I remember I told everybody, I said, I can do it in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 30 repetitions. Yeah, but I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't a complete inhaling and complete exhaling. So then I realized that I wasn't doing it. And I started complete inhaling and exhaling. I think I shot over 5.5 minutes. I go like, whoa, the difference was just bizarre so much. So yeah, this is the one thing I say, take it easy. Baby steps, make it a journey. Don't make it a race. And then you have the very best results.
What does the O2 trainer do for people?
Look what it says here. I just brought it. I just went over because the building outside, there was a lot of noise. I couldn't do this interview in my man cave, so to say. Imagine this is the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a thin dome-shaped muscle tendon. Looks like a cap, a ball cap. It's all it's 0.4 millimeters wide, so it's really thin, super strong. It's attached. This bottom part of your diaphragm is attached to the lower part of your rib cage. All around the body, 360 degrees circumferential. Now, this is what the diaphragm is doing. It drops down. Every time it drops down. What is that dropping down doing? Well, from this view, it's doing this. It's expanding in your body. So you have to understand, if this drops, your chest expands. Once your chest expands, that expansion creates a vacuum between your body and your lungs. And that vacuum, that opens up your lungs. Now, the diaphragm is the main mover for breathing, for inhaling, and your intercostals, your external intercostals, I should say, which are the ribs in between your rib cage. They're all used for expanding. The more you can expand, the more air you can pull into your lungs. People say, they can make your lungs bigger. Those are all lies. They play with certain things. You have a certain set of lungs. Like we have about 6 liters. A woman has 4.5 liters. We have 6 liters. Michael Phelps has 12 liters. There's the
Whoa.
only one guy in the world who has like double the amount that everybody else has. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're, for instance, let's say you're 58. I'm 59 now, and I would have never done any inspiratory muscle training. I lost about a liter of my chest expansion because your chest starts calcifying after the age of 28 already starts, right? So it's not flexible anymore. And slowly but surely, 30 milliliters a month, a year, which is 300 milliliters in 10 years. Well, 30 years is 900 milliliters, almost a liter you lost from this only 6 liters you have. So what these people say, when they say it makes your lungs bigger, yeah, that's only for people who are older, and they can go back to the original size they had in the first place because they're losing their volume, and then they can go back to it. Now, if you just keep on doing it, like for me right now, it's 133% if you compare me to other people my age. So I'm blowing over it because I've been doing this for 6 years every single day. The maximum, let me get this in steps because it's easier. You also have to understand that 95% of the people are breathing incorrect. If you look in the mirror and I tell you to take a deep breath, everybody does this. Once you do that, 4 to 6 of these breaths is the same as one diaphragmatic breath. Gigantic difference. So we're all breathe wrong. I was breathing wrong when I was fighting. I have videos of me fighting. You see me breathing like a maniac. Completely wrong. We come out of the womb perfectly breathing, and that's until about the age of 5.5. And what happens then? You're going to go to school. And then you're going to start sitting. And then you wear a belt. And then you go to the doctor and he puts a stethoscope here. Take a deep breath. Oh, here's where my lungs are. No, your lungs are not there. Your lungs are here. That's where your lungs are. So all these things, and then especially, oh, you like that girl or you like that boy or whatever goes on. Well, if I keep breathing through my belly, they might think I'm fat. And that is literally all these things together. They start taking the perfect breath away from us. And now we start freaking breathing by raising our shoulders. And like I said, 4 to 6 of these breaths is the same as one diaphragmatic breath. Like go with the lowest number, I always say. Like take 4. That's a lot. So 4 times to get 100%, which you can do in one time if you do it correctly. Okay, good. So that's a big difference. Yes. Now let's jump into what shall we start first with? How does your stamina increase? Right? Well, you train really hard. They all say that, yeah, but what happens inside the body? There's got to be a reason that you're enhancing and you're getting better shape. Well, the reason is very simple. If you work out a muscle over and over again, it becomes more efficient at its job. And the word efficient already says it. It uses less oxygen. Therefore, your stamina increases. Okay, good. Next one. What happens if you're gassing? Metaborflex, that's the more beautiful word for it. Imagine, I use always the same example because it's the most easy to understand. 45-degree angle wall, really steep wall, and you have to run it, and well, pretty soon, suddenly you get smacked in the face because that's where you start gassing, of course. What is gassing? Gassing actually takes the oxygenated blood away from your legs that you are using now for running. They take it away from your legs and they send it to the number one priority in your body, which are your breathing muscles. 3 minutes without it, you're dead. That's why they send that blood over. Okay, but wait a minute, Bas. You just said that if I work out a muscle over and over again, I give it more stamina. Yeah, okay, so why don't I work my 11 pounds of breathing muscles out every day, give them more stamina so they don't have to steal blood anymore? That's literally a medical term, blood stealing. You'll find this in freaking published medical journals. They don't have to steal the blood anymore that goes to your system because now it's right there. You updated it. And that's it. That's what the O2 trainer does. Then it also makes sure that it will force you to use your diaphragm. If you put an O2 trainer, and especially with Nsima, if you put like number 1 in, there's no way you can pull air in by raising your shoulders. There's no way. It's way too weak. This is a very weak breath. You know, by the way, that 80% of all the lung diseases are at the top of your lungs? This is a doctor told me this, a pulmonologist. And he says the reason is because everybody's shallow breathing at the top. They're all breathing incorrectly. It's the most insane thing there is. So once you get that breathing fixed, first of all, you go from 4 to 6 of these breaths to 1 breath, and then you give those muscles also more endurance. So you delay fatigue by God knows how much. And that's why I always tell people, every endurance athlete in the Olympics, 95% for sure is doing inspiratory muscle training. The first fighter I actually saw it do, who's doing it for a long time, is Alexander Usyk. I was doing a movie with The Rock, right? And he's playing Igor Vovchanchin in the movie. And that was last year. And I asked him, I said, what is he doing for his lungs? He says, I use the power breath. That's the competition of me. I say, use it. It's a good product. So I don't need you to change. It's a good respiratory muscle trainer. But he's the first guy that is actually doing it. All the other guys, they do it for a week and they expect that they're transformed in a week. And somehow, I can't get inside their heads and say, do it for 6 weeks, because I think if you do it 6 weeks, you're never going to stop again. But hey, people, that's what we're dealing with.
I will never go to a doctor ever again about my general health. All they want to do is put you on pills.
Really well said there by Dana White. Couldn't agree with him more. A lot of us are just trying to get jacked and tan. A lot of us just want to look good, feel good. And a lot of the symptoms that we might acquire as we get older, some of the things that we might have, high cholesterol or these various things, it's amazing to have somebody looking at your blood work as you're going through the process, as you're trying to become a better athlete, somebody that knows what they're doing. They can look at your cholesterol. They can look at the various markers that you have, and they can kind of see where you're at, and they can help guide you through that.
And there's a few aspects too, where it's like, yes, I mean, no shade to doctors, but a lot of times they do want to just stick you on medication. A lot of times there is supplementation that can help with this. At Merrick Health, these patient care coordinators are going to also look at the way you're living your lifestyle, because there's a lot of things you might be doing that if you just adjust that, boom, you could be at the right levels, including working with your testosterone.
And there's so many people that I know that are looking for, they're like, hey, should I do that? They're very curious. And they think that testosterone is going to all of a sudden kind of turn them into the Hulk. But that's not really what happens. It can be something that can be really great for your health, because you can just basically live your life a little stronger, just like you were maybe in your 20s and 30s.
And this is the last thing to keep in mind, guys. When you get your blood work done at a hospital, they're just looking at like these minimum levels. At Merrick Health, they try to bring you up to ideal levels for everything you're working with. Whereas if you go into a hospital and you have 300 nanograms per deciliter of test, you're good, bro, even though you're probably feeling like shit. At Merrick Health, they're going to try to figure out what things you can do in terms of your lifestyle. And if you're a candidate, potentially TRT. So these are things to pay attention to get you to your best self.
And what I love about it is a little bit of the back and forth that you get with the patient care coordinator. They're dissecting your blood work. It's not like you just get this email back and it's just like, hey, try these 5 things. Somebody's actually on the phone with you, going over every step and what you should do. Sometimes it's supplementation, sometimes it's TRT, and sometimes it's simply just some lifestyle habit changes.
All right, guys, if you want to get your blood work checked and also get professional help from people who are going to be able to get you towards your best levels, head to merrickhealth.com and use code POWERPROJECT for 10% off any panel of your choice.
What was it like being part of the early days of like the fight game? You know, early MMA, you know, it's when I was a kid growing up, I'm 48. I remember people talking a lot about, oh, what would happen if this boxer went against this Taekwondo guy? And we didn't really have anything where you could actually see these people fight. And then Pancrase and Pride and these things came along, and you were part of that. What was that like?
It was crazy. It was free fighting. That's what they called it all the way back. I go like free. I used to do these martial arts shows in Holland, where I would we do break tests on music. We had choreographed fight scenes. We do, let's say, we go to a Thai boxing event, and in the break, that for like 15, 20 minutes, we do this highly choreographed fight scenes with nunchucks, with sticks, with long sticks, with bows, with breaking tests, kicking cigarettes out of the mouth, all these crazy things, you know. And I kick him in the body, he throws me back, I make a somersault, and while I make a somersault, I kick him in the face. So it was like pretty cool stuff what you used to do. And we started adding comedy to it, and it became big. Suddenly we do it for Dutch TV, European TV. We started traveling through Europe. We did these shows everywhere. And on one of these shows, because if I would go, let's say, to the boxing ring, we would do it with backflips and a somersault, and then we step in the ring. And then Chris Dolman is the godfather of MMA in Holland. And he stopped me after the show and he said, Bas, I remember you from Thai boxing. I know you're a freak. You know, you can punch and kick. Now I see you doing all these backflips. Have you ever thought about free fighting? I go, free fighting, what is that? That's something they're doing in Japan right now. You can do pretty much everything. I go, do they pay? And they go, yeah. I go, of course, I would love to, you know. And that's how I got into it. And I remember my very first class, Oh, it was hilarious because I thought I could hold jokes. I thought, I could fight through everything because I'm a tough guy. I remember parking my car, calling my wife on one of the very first cell phones that were out there early days. I said, I'm parking my car next to the freeway here. I'm completely crushed. I'm going to sleep in the car a couple hours and then I come home. And I remember coming home and she's laughing. She says, oh, so that's it? No more free fighting? I said, no, it's not it. I said, within 6 months, I'm going to tap everybody there. I was so driven and it all came true. Once I lashed onto it, and especially with the submissions, the submissions in the beginning, I didn't want to know. I didn't have it. And, it's on the ground, guys on the ground. It was this really weird concept that we had. We're thinking, oh my God, you guys are loving each other or something. The dumb mentality that everybody was doing that. Remember that? Everybody was saying it, me included. So I'm not casting myself out. But then, you lose one time by submission. And then I lost the second time by submission. And then I lost the third time by submission. And that was it. I'm a sore loser. I mean, I can play games, a card game with a 10-year-old and I want to win. That's my, I don't even want him to. It's so like, Bas, but maybe it's a better thing to let him. And I go, no, he needs to know the truth. It's an annoying thing that I have. So I forced myself to start learning it. So I dove into it. And then suddenly it caught me. Suddenly I realized the possibilities and it's endless. And now I go like, oh my God, this is so cool. And this is so cool. And this is so cool. And wait a minute, I can make this better. Or I can make it at least fit better for my body type. And, and then I start playing with it. I go, okay, everybody's doing an armbar like this. What if I create a different way that they don't know? Then I can trick them with the same armbar. Okay, wait a minute. If I'm doing that, why don't I come up with 3 or 4 different setups for every single submission move? And once I started doing that, then it started, and I started doing it 2-3 times a day. I would wake up my wife in the middle of the night. I would dream a submission and I would put her in that submission. And she goes, so your shoulder's hurting. And she goes, yeah. I go, write it down. Next day in the training, I would try it out again. That's when I started creating my own submissions. And, but what happened was I never lost a fight again. After my last loss by submission, I won my next 8 fights by way of submission. 7 finishes I won with submission control. And my last 22, I didn't lose. But it was all because I made a conscious decision to work on my weakness, which was the submission game. And I tell everybody, suddenly it clicks. And once it clicks in your mind and you realize the possibilities that you have with submission. And for guys who say, oh, there's 2 guys on the ground. Guys, every submission guy can do this, not me. Everybody can do this. If you're a blue belt and up, you can pretty much break any bone in your opponent's body or dislocate any joint you want. That's a pretty big power to have if you think about it. And if they don't like it, you choke them out. Bye. I go like, so once I started seeing that, I go like, whoa, this is way more powerful than punching and kicking. I can literally decide what I'm going to do with this guy. And that's, that caught me. And that's the thing I missed the most. I had 4 neck surgeries. It doesn't, everybody goes, oh, it's a fighting game. No, it was from TV shows. I dropped upside down on my head. I never had injuries from fighting. It was always injuries from like stupid stuff to do. But that's what I missed the most. I wish that I could still roll. I just don't want to take the risk. I got 4 plates in my neck. If somebody gives me a crossface a little wrong, that could be a big problem. So unfortunately, I cannot do it anymore.
How did you retire on? You said you had a 22 fight win streak.
Yeah.
How did you walk away?
Injuries. That was God taking care of it, which I hated it at the time, and now I'm super thankful because I kept my record intact. Because I would have been, if I would have not have injuries, I would have kept fighting, and eventually you're going to lose. You're fighting guys half your age who started training when they're 6 years old, and you can't, once you pass 45, you can't work out 4 or 5 times really hard anymore. You can work out 10 times, but normally I did 4 workouts per week were like 100%, not 99, 100%. And I could never go more than 4 times doing that because then already the body starts breaking down because I go all the way. And the rest of the workouts was just 80%, so to say. Well, the older you get, you can't do it anymore. Or you're going to have to use all the crap and PEDs. And since I'm not a big fan of that, and I believe it's cheating, that's why I never did it. And listen, also, I started 28. When I was 28, I started fighting. And now you got guys 25 years old and they get caught with PEDs. I go, like, dude, if I was 28 and I started fighting in Japan, how is it that I could do it without it? And you need to do it. It's an insecurity that people have. You know, people start listening to other guys. They say, oh, he's pooping. That's why he was stronger than you. He's probably using steroids. Oh, really? Okay. And then they start listening to that. I think that if you're completely in tune with your own body, you can freaking move worlds, buddy. You just have to believe it. And unfortunately, we get whispered things by others, and then we get insecure. And that's the moment somebody jumps to a PED or something.
You know, I'm really curious about this. I've heard some people say that some people look at what Thai fighters do in terms of conditioning their bones, and they don't think that you can really make your bones stronger. But I've heard that you have done a lot when you were fighting to like make your body harder. So I'm just kind of curious about that, what you did, and then kind of the results you found from that.
It's really simple, little things, like calcifying your shin bones, right? That's what they do with the Thai boxers. Mm-hmm. They just start kicking something. Now you have to start kicking something soft and slowly but surely. So what I used to do, I take a heavy bag, which is filled with sand, and I would make a note, or I put a little piece of tape. I would find a place where it's still a little soft. And the whole week, I would only kick it there. And then a week later, I put it like a 1/4 inch lower. And now I kick that side the whole time. So every time I go to the harder part, and before you know it, if you go too fast, it's not working. Take 2 months, guys. Shit, don't try to do it next week, because once it bruises, you're going to have to restart the whole thing. You have to wait till it heals, and then you have to restart again. So bruising, stay away from that. So they're very slowly but surely. And once you do that, baby steps again, and within 3 months, suddenly everything becomes hard. Like they say, how my knuckles are, they're not big now. Like they were like this when they were all calcified. And the only thing I would do is when I would sit, I would just sit this, nothing harder, just on a stone. But I would sit on a smooth piece of stone. Watch TV. Had 2 tiles next to me, and all these little tiny micro bursts. They start cracking. Micro cracks in your bones, and after you stop, it starts healing. You take calcium, you take collagen, milk, it's also calcium. And if you take that afterwards, it starts healing and it becomes stronger. That's the crazy thing about the body, right? Everything that you fix, it becomes stronger. For the people, and you guys talked a lot about that, but that's literally what you're doing with your muscles. You're breaking them down, give them protein and rest, come back stronger. Same with the bone. Bone breaks, you set it the correct way, it will never break at that same spot again. It will probably break next to it if something happens, but not that. And that's the amazing thing about the body. But you can do this with everything, with your tendons, and then with your knuckles as well. Push up on your knuckles. Take those 2 knuckles. Don't make the whole, because we always try to spread out the impact so it doesn't hurt anymore. But if you just go for these 2 knuckles and you push them up, you push yourself up on those 2 knuckles. And in the beginning, maybe you need a little bit of a cloth below it, because again, once you bruise it, you're gonna have to wait till it's healed. Take your freaking time. That's the same with the O2 trainer. We want to go to setting number 1. No, take your time. And once you do that, I use baby steps. That's how everything goes really fast. My workouts, I did 15 rounds on the back for 1 minute rounds, and people were laughing at me. I go, no, but this is the begin picture. After a workout, we did sparring, we did everything, 15 rounds on the back, 1 minute rounds, but as hard as I can. I have these combinations that I do, and they fly out, and everything is 100% power, which is easy the first minute. And the second minute will go, third minute. Around 6, 7 rounds, you start getting tired. Now it starts coming up, and it starts tightening up. Now, once you can do all these 15 rounds, full power, and this is full power. This is not full power. Everything is to kill. Because there's a difference between me doing something at 100% and other students doing it at 100%. Because I go 100%. They think 80% is 100%. It's a big difference. Go all the way. But once you do that to your body, now it can throw out a lot of energy in 1 minute, take 1 minute break. Okay, I can do all 15 minutes, 15 rounds. Now I go to 1 minute and 5 seconds, and I take 5 seconds away from my resting time. So 105, 15 rounds, 55 seconds rest. The week later, 110, 50 seconds rest. Week later, 115, and I go all the way to 1.5 minutes. Now I'm preparing for half hour fights. I can go 15 times, 1.5 minutes, full power, with only 30 seconds break. Well, that's what a fight is. If you really look at the fights, hard up, hard out, hop up, hard out. And that has always helped me tremendously. Now, if I give this schedule to an up-and-coming fighter, he's going to do right away 15 rounds of 1.5 minutes. He's going to break down within 3 weeks because it's way too much. Your body cannot do it. But if you do it like I did, and like 8 or 10 weeks before, and every time you just increase with 5 seconds, your body adjusts to it. And now you don't overtrain yourself is the best way to get in shape. For me, it is.
Seems like at some point you got completely obsessed with all of what you were doing, to the point where even just if you're watching TV, you're working on your bone density of your knuckles. Were there other things like that you would work on? Like, would you work on your grip in your car and like all those other things?
I have the Dynaball in my car, and I go, this is 1 minute here, 1 minute here. Same thing. Goes to 115. Driving the car, other hand. And then every time I go back and forth, do it for like 20 minutes straight. I'm sitting in the car. Might as well use that time to get stronger. You know, it's the same with everything. Stretching. If I watch TV, I pray a rosary every day. Well, that's the moment I'm stretching. Well, I'm doing. Why not praying and doing something on the side? You know, you can always hit 2 birds with 1 stone. You know, like when I walk my dogs, I'm memorizing lines, scripts, whatever I have to do for the next show that I have to do. Memorize names. We got these names from Uzbekistan and Poland. Yeah, that's the name. You know, I go like, so you have to memorize all these crazy names. You see, but that's while I'm walking the dogs. Why not? Otherwise, I don't use myself. Or I walk the dogs and I might as well train my brain to do something.
You know, there's a lot of people who are listening who, a lot of our audience does jujitsu or grapples, or they do powerlifting competitions. So many people still find it difficult to calm down when competing. They once they get on the mat, boom, they see red, or they cannot bring themselves down. I know you talked a little bit about breathing, but what would your advice be for somebody who still cannot manage to calm themselves before going into a fight?
Well, you need a good talk to yourself. You know, you need to tell yourself, and you need to know that it's everything you're doing is wrong. It works against your fighting. It works against everything. What I like to do is I bring my students back to when they're rolling. For instance, if this is about rolling jiu-jitsu, then I say, hey, yesterday, you remember the roll you had with Zach? Yeah, that was freaking crazy, right? You guys didn't get tired. Yeah, that's the flow state. That's where I want you to go to. Once you start adding aggression to it and nerves and adrenaline, that's what happens. And that shoots in your system. And now everything starts getting tight, and tightness, not a good thing, right? Because that stops your chest from expanding. So like these guys who do bench press like the day before they're having an athletic event, that goes to stay far away from it. Stretch your intercostals. You know what an intercostal stretch will do for you before that gives you 15% more stamina? By simply sitting and stretching your intercostals, because now it's easy for your chest to expand. So once you dive into the head of the person that is affected by nerves, and you tell them, listen, you know it's wrong. I want you to train I want you to fight under pressure like you did yesterday in training. Once you can master that, that's where all the goodies start starting to come. And most of the time when you tell them that, they realize it also. They're going to go like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, for instance, my students, right? They're very nervous. They say, and everybody, what happens when the fight starts and it's striking, they go right away, because in their mind, they just want to get it over with. That's what I had when I started fighting. I just go, and then boom, okay, came out to finish. I was lucky but I'm rolling the dice. It's very dangerous. So to my students, I always say, for the first minute, you're not allowed to punch. I want you to just use movement and move back. Never straight back, always to the side, and let the guy hit you. Let him come and you just move and just move and just move. Don't do anything back. I say a minute is a long time. Everybody will start booing. People the corner start shouting his corner. He's afraid. All that is going to work in your favor. If you do what I'm saying, it's going to work in your favor. Stay calm. Relax. Get used to his reach. And now you get used to his reach. And once you feel comfortable, you go, okay, I got it. Now bring your hands up and now start fighting. And if you do that, if I give that advice to new students, most of the time it works out really well for them. Most of the time they also start fighting sooner, like 30 seconds, because 30 seconds is a long time once you're fighting, guys. It's a whole different thing. Time goes different once you're under pressure. But that always was a really good way for me to get inside their heads. And there was another way, what I would say, if they would be nervous the day before or 2 days before, I would see they're very nervous. I would always tell them, I say, okay, imagine the guy walks now into our gym, the guy you're going to have to fight. And we put you in that room, which has no windows. And both of you go in, we lock the door, you guys fight. And you're not allowed to say who won or lost if you come out. None of you. Would you care if you would lose? And he goes, no, actually I wouldn't. I go, so you're not fighting for yourself. You're fighting for other people to please people. Because if you don't care, if nobody knows, that's the state I want you to be in when you're fighting. The not caring system, and that's most of that helps them a lot as well to take that pressure off, because it's all in your head, but if they don't prepare them for it, and right away they clash, no, you can only move backwards, you see. So put them in positions and give them certain situations. This is how I tell my daughters, if there's a problem, I say step away from it as if it's happening to friends of yours and you're floating above it. And then what would you do? And most of the time, that advice that you're going to give now, that's advice you should give to yourself. But once you start adding emotions and all that stuff, we all get polluted. And then, well, look at the world right now, right? I mean, everybody thinks it's right. Everybody's screaming. Everybody's killing people. And then finding out that there was not for the right reason because they just got emotional. It's crazy what is out there. But everything starts in the mind.
All right, we've been trying to build up our feet for a long time, trying to make some changes to our feet. And Nsima, what are some differences you've seen with wearing some Vivo barefoot?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I was a soccer player my whole life and I thought I had strong feet until I, started actually doing foot exercises and strengthening the feet and wearing barefoot shoes. And first thing I want to mention is when you guys start wearing barefoot shoes, have other options, because these shoes are flat, which allows your foot to really work on the ground. They're flexible, so your toes are going to be curling more when you take each step, right? And they're wide, so your foot's going to be getting more action than ever. So it's a good idea to, have your barefoot shoe, but then have something else that allows your foot a little bit of a break. But man, for me, in jiu-jitsu, my feet now work like hands. So now when I'm playing my guard, my feet are grabbing the opponent.
That's a little scary.
It is. And people feel weird when my toes grab onto them, but it's because every single day I walk around in barefoot shoes and they're getting stronger as I just take my 10-minute, 20-minute walks.
I think it's amazing. I've known a lot of things about fitness for a really long time, but I did not know what a weak point my feet were. And my feet used to hurt all the time. I had a callus thing on the side of it that was always just bugging me. I tried to get wider and wider shoes.
Plantar fasciitis.
I went all the way up to getting a 13 and a half shoe, which I don't need a 13 and a half shoe. I got no business wearing that size, but I was trying to make up for, I needed more width. But most of the shoes don't have it. And people like Chuck Taylors, they like Vans, they like Nikes, but almost all those shoes are fairly narrow and they're kind of hurting people's feet. And so you want better feet, get yourself a pair of Vivos. How did you avoid PEDs being, especially in Pride, where it seemed to be so rampant?
No, Pride, I fought for Pancrase, right? So Pride was they were just gigantic guys. But the same as me in Pancrase. I mean, I fought guys 245, freaking gigantic. I always thought it will give you such a big pump that everything is going to be tight. And thankfully, I always thought that, because I have to believe, and I think I'm honest with it, but I got to be honest on one side also. I always thought it would backfire for me. It would, because it would get this crazy pump and I would never want to do it. I did it when I was 20, 21, when Schwarzenegger and Stallone, all these guys, were in the gym and everybody wanted to be big. And then we did a cycle, but I was also doing Taekwondo at the time. White belt I was. And we had rope skipping and I couldn't skip ropes because my shoulders would pump so hard. And that feeling, thankfully, has always steered me away, because I realized once I started fighting, I never knew I was going to be a professional fighter. I was just doing Taekwondo and I was doing bodybuilding and a little bit on the side. I never knew anything, but once you start fighting, well, you're going to realize that's actually working against you. Okay, let's not use that crap. And then you hear from all these people, they start using, they say, yeah, but Bas, but if you do EPO on the side, then you keep this. And then I go okay, I heard really bad things about EPO. It's very dangerous. Your blood gets really thick. I go, you should stop doing that. I mean, if you want a world title or die, I don't know what you want to do. So, yeah, but I have to be honest, that was always the main reason for me not to use it. But I hope that Even if I wouldn't have had that experience, I would have said, no, it's cheating. Because I simply think it's cheating. If you're a really good striker and then you gain freaking 45 pounds, now you're a killing machine, man. That's almost premeditated murder, right? If you think about it. I mean, if you're a really good striker and you add 45 pounds, that's a problem for a person receiving that punch.
Was it like illegal or not allowed in Pride or
No,
they didn't have any rules against it, right?
There are no rules. Yeah, they just everybody. There's like in the submission fighting now. You see these freaking guys walking around. They're gigantic, right? But it's open. Everybody knows they're doing it. You
And
see,
then nowadays, do you do any TRT or anything
I
just to
do
maintain?
TRT, yeah, and I do DECA. I just started that like 4 months ago. They told me to do that. So, but I take 60 milligrams twice a week, TRT. So 3 on the scale. Not even 2 times a week. I do like if I do it on Monday, I don't do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is my next one. Every time I put 3 whole days in between, and then it's 60 milligrams per time when I do it.
Noticing anything from it?
Well, the very first one. So that's when I knew why people are using this stuff. So I had a pain pill addiction, right? Because with the last fight that I did in 2006, all the pains were there, and I started with OxyContin. I started with something lighter, of course, but it evolved really fast. So I realized really fast that this was going to go wrong. So I had to get off of that crap. So I used Suboxone to get off of that stuff. Now, Suboxone is like the methadone they use for heroin. You guys know. But this is pharmaceutical. You can buy it. It's a pill that you put under your tongue, and you don't have to take more. So that's good. You can actually start building it down. What they don't tell you is that you should do that only for 3 weeks, and then you should stop with that crap. But they don't tell you because now they can write you another prescription, right? Oh, I'm not the pain pill guy. No, you're the other guy. It's exactly the same what you're doing. But good. I've been on that crap for 3.5 years at the time. Double vision, my heart rate. It was 86 when I would wake up in the morning in bed. 86, like waking up. Blood pressure, everything was through the roof. I mean, everything was wrong. I'd taken sleeping pills, everything was wrong. And I go, I gotta stop this stuff. So I went to a doctor. We started looking into it. They did a blood test. And there's another doctor coming in. And this one doctor looks at me. And I go, what? So he shoves it over to his other doctor. And he looks. And he goes, how do you get out of bed? I go, it's hard. I said, but I drink a bunch of coffee and I come out. He says, why? He says, your testosterone level, it's 5. I go, 500? He goes, 5. I've never seen this. A woman has 70 or 80. You have 5, Bas. And they were like, how the hell can you function? He says, a guy below 100 almost can't function anymore. I go, well, I just plug through, I guess, right? So then they gave me the first testosterone shot. Brother, that was like, I was as high as this guy. I was like, and I go, oh, so this is what these fighters are using. And this is what, my God, I was like a kid. Like I was 25 years old again. I remember had to train Tiffany van Soest. She was, of course, that came to my gym to train. She's a world champion kickboxing, Thai boxing. And I was just going to hold the focus mitts. But I came there and I just put my shin guards on, everything. I go, whoa, let's go. I was like, dude, this energy was the most insane thing. But we all know that in order for you to get that feeling back, you're going to have to up the dose, right? And that's when I realized right away, that's the trap. That's why you see some of these guys that get caught with 16 times the amount. You go, that is the reason. So yeah, no, I decided not to fall in the trap. And I started building down. I did 3 times a week. I did the 30. And I just did that. Now I do it. Yeah, like I said, not even a week, twice a week, but it's a little less than twice a week. So we all, when we grow up, we want more, and more is better. It's all the time. That's how our minds are programmed. 1 beer is fun. 5 beers is better, right? So this is how we are functioning, especially functioning a high addictive person like me. But thankfully, because I know that I'm that, I can stop it as well. So immediately I say, oh, that's the catch. I know, and I'm going to take more of that. Let's not do that. And then I just stay. So I just use it to feel good with all the traveling. And that's about it. And the DECA day, it's less. It's 15, 1.5. That's what is it? this is 40 milligrams, I guess, right? Oh, no, not even 30. 30 milligrams also twice a week. They told me that you can lower the testosterone and this will actually help you with your knees because I have no cartilage on my kneecaps. And that will help with the joints a little bit better. And, I have to say, I feel a little bit better in that department, so to say.
How does like your training look now? Do you still get to do you do any type of grappling or striking or?
Punching, kicking, I do. Like I said, I do maybe with hack weights. I got to watch out though, because I'm very powerful. I cannot go slow, which is it's a sickness in my mind. Like I can't jab a back. I have to hit it hard all the freaking time. So when I do like egg weights, I have to go hard. But if you go hard, you hyperextend every time a little bit. And even if it's only 2 pounds, it's still 2 pounds. And there's little, you start hyperextending the whole time. Over time, your tendons will start hurting. So now I do it without them. And if I do it with, I don't stretch my arms. But for me, it's a very hard thing to do because I want to make, good technique. You want to do that. I like cable punching drills. I do on the cable machine. I got a really nice cable machine that you can attach pretty much everywhere you want. I do for instance, straight punches. And then right away, I do the reverse muscle as well. So it's all core as well because you do single. I don't do double simultaneously. I do it with straights. I do it with body shots. I do it with uppercuts. And then I go to my other room where I got some weights and I train 2 more exercises. But anyway, that whole thing I do 4 times. And again, it's 35 minutes, but it's going. There's not 5 seconds break in between. It's one exercise into the other one. Constantly keep on going.
I have a question for you because you've gone so deep down the rabbit hole of improving your breathing and your inspiratory muscles. But I've heard you talk a little bit about breathing while fighting and breathing while moving, right? So can you, when you're sparring or when you were fighting, how does your breathing work when you're throwing punches, etc.? But then also, do you do anything when you're breathing while you lift it all these days?
Yeah, that's a good question. With lifting, yes. I don't do the punching anymore, and that's in the sparring I don't do anymore. Okay, let's bring back first. Let's go about let's say spar. You're sparring. If you're standing very close to each other, needless to say, your breathing cannot be nice and comfortable because if you're breathing in and somebody hits you at that moment, that's it. That's when you go down, right? You can do 5,000 sit-ups a day. If you breathe in and I just do this, poof, not harder than this, you will go down at the moment you breathe in. That's how freaking vulnerable we are. So needless to say, once you start hitting, and that's why you're making those sounds, right? The people go, why do it? Well, first of all, you do it for breath control. But second of all, also, if you punch, you're open. And if you make this sound, you will flex at the same time. So now when you're open, first of all, it's good for your breathing, but you're also automatically protected now if somebody attacks this body. And then you're back. So in shooting range, you cannot completely inhale and exhale. It's a very dangerous thing to do. So as soon as you out of shooting range, a little step back, and you have to know as a fighter exactly where you are, because sometimes with the legs, they can still reach you. But if you just stay outside the range, that's where you take your deep breaths. And you don't want to go too deep of a breath, because then if you're really tired, you give that away to your opponent. So there's this fine line of not showing how really tired you are, where you have to watch out with, because most of the time when you try to hide for your opponent that you're tired, you start breathing not the correct way, which will make you more tired as well. You see, so it's just walking away out of shooting range. That's what I tell my students. Walk away, put your arms out. How many times you see me doing this in a fight? I go, bam, 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 I step back and I shake, and then I go back into the fight. To me, that looks like a guy who's completely in control. Doesn't look to me like, because my friends are going to say, yeah, but they think I'm afraid. I go, no, to me, it looks you're really in freaking control. You just step outside the range, you shake a little bit, take a deep breath, you go back in. That is control. If a fighter would do that to me while I'm fighting him, I go, okay, he feels very comfortable where he is because he picks the moments to breathe. And once, of course, the bell goes and you have to go to your corner, now it's all diaphragmatic breathing, in and out, as deep as you can to try to catch it at 1 minute, the whole breathing back. But shooting range, it's a hard one, but just take your time. You decide when you take a breath. That means either you hold him very close so he can't knee and punch you, take a few deep breaths, push him away, you go, or you step away, out of the way of the shooting range, where they can't hit you, connect, and that's why you can breathe freely as well.
Seems like you have some incredible intuition. Do you think it's like intuition, experience, maybe combination of the two?
I break everything down. I have a fighting stance. I have a very open, wide fighting stance. And they say, oh, it's not working. I say, there's no way you can tell me that it's not the best way. You can come up with all these things that you want to say. There's no way. Physical wise, because I know I'm 100% correct. Like, for instance, I'm standing in a wide stance. Like Mike Tyson, I'm standing wide open. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, but you're a wide open target. That's why you shouldn't do it. I said, did Mike ever go down to the body? No, that's weird. He's wide open. Me? Did I ever go down to the body? All the fighters I know who fight like this never went down to the body. How is that possible? Because you're saying it's so easy. What happens is, I know I'm a wide target here. So my defenses become automatically, they stop being with my elbows. I start adapting. You know, the best example that I always give is a friend of mine, Amir Peretz, is a very good street fighting guy, Navy SEAL from Israel. When I picked him up for his first workout, they were sparring with kicks to the balls. I go, okay, that's next level stuff. But guess what? Nobody got kicked in the balls. You know why? Because nobody likes to get kicked in the balls. So that means that they automatically start reading the length of the leg. They automatically know now how far to stay away not to get kicked. That's the same with being an open target here. But now let's see what comes back for it. Because if I'm standing in one line, I got no power shot in my left. I got no kicks. I got a flippy kick. That's about it. I can't check low kicks. I can't generate any force with my left. If I'm standing like this, I almost have equal power in both my left and my right. Now everything becomes dangerous. You know that till this day, I hold highest striking accuracy in mixed martial arts, 70.6%. To give an idea, Anderson Silva is 60.2 or so. But it's because of my style. If I hit you really hard in the head, what's going to happen? Your hands go up. That's my next target. That's a very basic concept of fighting. Wait a minute, if that works to the head, what if I hit you really hard to the body? Hands go down, there's my next target. You see, it's a basic concept, but it freaking works. You know, if you throw everything with power, you put the fear of God in your opponent. Like if somebody kicks me, or if I kick somebody, and I always told my students to do the same thing. If I kick somebody and he sees he's going to block, I just kick on his defense as hard as I can. I won't hold back the power. I want him to feel the power that he's going to get. I want him to realize that once he gets that kick, he goes, shit, I better block this kick. Now I'm inside his head. You see? Because now he's afraid of the kick. Well, if I left up my power and I made it a softer kick, he's not. But if I just kick as hard as I can on his defense, now I'm getting inside his head. If he blocks the punch here, I hit him as hard as I can. If he flies backwards, shit, I better block this punch. Now I'm inside his head again. You see, you start breaking your opponent down. Now back to the fighting stance. Low kicks, I only have to, if I'm standing with my stance and somebody gives me a low kick, that's the only thing I have to do. If I'm standing in bladed position, somebody kicks me, there's no way I can check a low kick. I can't counter with punches. I immobilize myself. I don't know why no more people are fighting like I always used to fight. A lot of great fighters fight like that. Roman Deckers fights like that. Mike Tyson, yeah, I already said it. Those are the two guys I always looked up the most to. One is from Thai boxing and the other one is from boxing. And I go, what do they different? Why are they able to generate so much power? So already when I was 20 years old, I saw that, and that's when I started working. It's all upper body rotation. That's where all the power comes from. You know, and the more you rotate your upper body, if you see Mike Tyson hit 3 left hooks, let's say a liver shot, a left uppercut, and a left hook. It goes pop, pop, pop. It goes that fast. And in slow motion, you see Mike doing this. Boom, boom. Complete rotation on all these 3 shots. Left, left, left. And go pop, pop, pop. But his way of rotating, it is so bizarre fast, but that's why he can generate all that force. You know, he's one of the only guys in the world who can do it at that speed.
What do you think would happen if you took a newer MMA athlete of today? Maybe it's some young guy that just like wants to be on like Ultimate Fighter, and you kind of walked him through the locker room of Pancrase back in the day. Do you think they just like walk right through the locker room and just walk on out and maybe not have the desire to be a fighter anymore?
I think the locker room is all okay. I think the hard workouts, like you come with us training, like there's people who want to spar with us, and then they see us spar, they leave because it goes hard. But I'll never knock you out to the head. My students never knock me out to the head. But yes, to the body, you're going to get hit. And to the legs, you're going to get kicked. We're going to go. Your head, I'm not going to knock you out with because I'm going to watch out. So for people watching it, they're freaking out. They don't even want to spar with us. I say, yeah, but nobody gets injured. I mean, I don't know if you see this. Nobody's getting injured because we all know exactly how far to go. Now, if a person comes in who doesn't know, yeah, most of the time that's the person who's going to injure you because he doesn't have that control yet. So you have to build these kind of guys that they actually stay with that system, because we all get a punch. Sometimes that was not really meant, right? So you spot, poof, you get a punch, you go, shit, did you do this on purpose? And once you start going down that, because then if he hits you again by accident, now it's on. And then you have these gym wars, suddenly they start beating. But if you're just at the moment, if I hit somebody really hard, they go like, dude, I didn't do that on purpose. Just say it. Because if you don't say it, the second or third time might look like you do it on purpose. And now you're in a freaking war. But yeah, good controlled guys, you can go pretty hard as long as you got good controlled guys.
I was actually really curious. You mentioned that rotation, that the rotational aspect of Mike Tyson and yourself, et cetera. Do you, outside of maybe fighting and getting better at punching, is there any way to train that ability to rotate well?
That's my punching drills on the cable machine.
Gotcha.
That's why I'm doing this the whole time. Yeah. I just want that rotation. And I do this. There's the golden drill, we call this. It's literally you're standing in the squatted position. You go this. You do this as fast and explosive as you can. Rotate. And you do that for 1 minute. Watch how tired you're going to get. Because you don't give yourself time to breathe. You're flexing nonstop. It's very hard to breathe. You see? And again, if you do this 4 times a week, after a workout, do 3 rounds of 1 minute, and then you do the same system as I did with those 15 rounds. Then a week later, you do 1 minute and 5 seconds. A week later, 1 minute, 10 seconds. And then at the very end, you do 4 workouts a week, and then you wrap them up with 3 rounds of freaking upper body rotations as hard as you can. Dude, your punching power, your kicking power, everything will increase dramatically when you do this simple drill. And keep your head still. Don't bring your head with it. Head is still. Look yourself in the mirror and just let your body rotate. But don't do this. I can do this till tomorrow morning, right? No energy. Go as hard as you can and make them rotate, because a lot of people, they want to go fast again. They make these tiny little things. That's not working. Make them big. Make them big. Speed will come, but give it time. We all want to be fast right away. If you exaggerated this movement, and if only 20% comes back from this movement during a fight, that's 20%. If you don't do it, 20% from nothing, this is what I tell my students, is nothing. So the more you exaggerate in training, the more it will slow you down. And that's why we don't want to do it, because we want to be fast. But if you keep doing it, then you're going to be like a Mike Tyson. And I don't know with his weight how that's even possible to do it as fast as he can do. Yeah, he's a freak with that. Very cool.
Yeah.
Who do you think the greatest fighter of all time is?
Oh, man. It's a hard one because you never know, right? Like you had Fedor Emelianenko. He was just terrorizing people. And you had Sakuraba terrorizing people, beating 4 Gracies. At that time, they were at the top of the food chain. But, everything keeps evolving, right? And everything getting better. So every time we got these new fighters, it's a hard one for me. I would... If I choose boxer, that's my go-to guy, of course, Mike. And then, and with Thai boxing, it's Robin Dekkers, the 2 guys that I got pretty much where I took all the movement from. If you see Robin Dekkers, when I showed Mike Tyson, Robin Dekker highlight, he was freaking out. He was, oh my God, what the fuck? I go, they call him the Tyson of kickboxing. That's why. He's a freak. He gives somebody a low kick and the guy flies horizontal. That's how hard he kicks. He's 165 pounds. But the guy is the first guy who went to Thailand and just destroyed the Thais over there. He's the first guy in history who was on the cover of Thai Fighter of the Year. That was in Thailand, never went to a foreigner. But he broke the mold. They had to, because he was just that good. So he was the very first foreigner who became Fighter of the Year in Thailand. And then afterwards, fortunately, more foreigners start getting that as well. But he was the first guy.
you had such an amazing life, and I'm sure there's a lot of great things still ahead. But do you kind of look back at it every once in a while and just be like what? This is interesting. Like, how the heck did all this happen to me?
Yeah, every time. Last week I was talking to somebody again. Last week I was texting George St. Pierre, and I said, dude, how crazy is this? Going from being bullied, and then suddenly you're the guy who can beat him up, and it still blows my mind. I just shot the Smashing Machine, right, with Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt and Ryan Bader. We shot that last year. I mean, they call me and say, hey, I want to do a movie with The Rock. I go, nah. What do you think?
Kind of busy.
I'm just blessed to be in that moment. I'm actually playing myself since I was the coach of Mark Kerr. And they asked me, hey, you want to play yourself? It's 25 years later. But, I go, love it. So, those are moments that you go, like, but this is crazy. That these people know you. I sent a picture to Dwayne. There wasn't a screenshot I made. Like, I'm not a big screenshot made, but somebody asked me on Twitter in 2016, because it is in my man cave, I framed it. Somebody's asking me, hey, you against The Rock, who would win in a street fight? So I say, nah, no street fight, please, because I love this guy. And then The Rock answers, and he says, I love you back, boss. I also love my teeth to remain in my mouth, and ha, ha, ha. So I sent him that like a couple of weeks ago. I say, you remember this tweet? I said, somebody blew it up for me and they put it in my man cave. He says, oh yeah, heck yeah. He says, and I do love my teeth in my mouth. Yeah, he's a funny guy. But you see, those things are so unrealistic when you're a kid. Like when Mike Tyson growing up, and now I've seen him work out a whole bunch of times. Great guy. All these things that you didn't know. I was Lucia Rikers. Do you guys know Lucia Rikers, the boxer? She's just before Christy Martin. Christy Martin didn't want to fight her. She's like the $1 Million Baby, that movie from Clint Eastwood. She was the bad girl in there. Then Clint Eastwood set the fight up between Christy Martin and her, and winner was going to take $1 million, but Christy Martin didn't want to do it. She's undefeated in Thai boxing. She's like the most freaking notorious female striker we have from Holland. Bizarre. The only person she lost to was a Thai fighter, champion from Thailand, because they couldn't find girls anymore. She had to fight a guy, and she lost that fight. Women never. Boxing, 22-0 with like 19 knockouts. Kickboxing is bizarre, like 43 matches, 41 knockouts, never lost. Just a freak. So I'm 20 years old. We just started Thai boxing, 21, and I'm in Spain, and with a bunch of friends, and we're sitting drinking beers, we're having fun. We just had a fight, and we just went to a fight from Lucia Riker. She just knocked out the sister from Betty the Jet when she was 15. She's 15 years old, Lucia Riker, fought a woman who was already 6-time world champion and just annihilated her. It was like, so we are in love with Lucia Riker. So suddenly I say, oh my God, who's that? Look at that. Because you saw somebody's walking on the street with power. Like people, you can see. And I go, oh my God, it's Lucia Riker, Oh my God. So we started shouting at her, like, hey, why don't you come here? You want to drink something? I'll never forget, she wanted a glass of milk. And she just went for a run. I go, yeah, but you just won your fight. He says, yeah, no, I'm always training. I go, drinking and all that stuff. She says, that I do that when my career is over. So we started talking, what do you guys do with Thai boxing? Yeah. And I say, and as a kid, I'm 21. I look at her, I say, remember my name. One of those guys, I'm going to be a world champion too, right? And then freaking 20 years later, I'm at the show in Holland and I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's Lucia. He goes, I remember you saying it, and now you got your world titles. So that was a really cool moment for me, and now he's his friend, but those things that you don't realize when you're young and you look up to these people, then they suddenly, you become known to them and they're your friends. It's wild. It's really wild, but it's really cool too.
It looks like you could still get back into a Speedo any moment. How are you? What's your nutrition? Yeah. What was the point of those Speedos anyway? Like no one normally fights in Speedos.
They just wanted to be very uncomfortable, I guess. Thankfully, I had to wear a cup.
Hey, if you can rock them, right? You might as well do it. What do you eat nowadays from a diet perspective to stay lean, stay in shape?
I'm very blessed with food. I have this crazy, what they say, 3% of the population has that. Like, I can eat whatever I want, and I don't gain. I won't gain weight. I won't lose weight. You put me a week or 2, 3 in bed. I won't gain. I won't lose. I'm the same weight I'm now as when I started fighting in '93. I always been the same weight. So I think I actually look much better now because I'm way more cut than I am at the time because I wasn't focusing on it. I eat 2.5 pounds of sweet potatoes and a steak as breakfast. So I eat it like Dwayne DJ is hating it because he has to watch his carbs, and every time I go like, I hope you're ready with your sweet potatoes, you effing asshole, because I can eat as many carbs as I want. It doesn't really matter. I eat 6 large pizzas a day. I won't gain. It's like the most insane thing, and I can work out on it, but I don't. So what I do is it's clean food. So it is a steak and it's clean. Everything I make myself. I got In-N-Out here. I'm sorry. I love In-N-Out. So that's 3 times a week, but that's about it. And I might take a pizza somewhere, but the rest we make our own food all the time and try to make it healthy. We got our own cows. We got, we're working now also on the vegetables. I want it to be everything clean. I got a well, the river is very close to my place. So we got our own water. I just want to make. I found out in 2006 when I did my last match, I fought one more time after 7 years not competing. All the injuries were gone, I thought, and then they all start coming back with a vengeance. And it was okay. I won the fight, stopped it with low kicks, which was also nice because I never had a low kick win. So that was another check of my checklist. But the first time, that was the very first time that I also watched my food. I had a dietitian come in and tell me, "Hey, eat this." And the difference was just way too big to not notice for me. So after that fight, I just stayed with it. I just never went back to that old crap warming up pizzas and all that. The microwave, I never use a warm. I might use a microwave to defrost a bread that I have to want to throw in the oven. If I don't have enough time planned in, otherwise I let it go naturally, of course. But all these things, you realize how really bad it is for you and how good food, how really good that is for you. So I just start floating myself with good food, lots of water, eggs. I take a lot of eggs for the mind works real collagen. I take a bunch of that as well with protein before I go to sleep. So I try to stay very clean.
Thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you? Where can they pick up the O2 Trainer and stuff like that?
O2trainer.com. This is the crazy thing. It's a very simple device, but it's strength training for your breathing muscles. O2trainer.com. You can go to Amazon. Nowadays, it's one click, boom, you got it, right? So go there. Look at the reviews. We have the highest reviews from every same company out there. It's doing really well. Go to the published medical journals because a lot of the people, they're going to go, oh, it's a gimmick. There's over 2,000 published medical journals about inspiratory muscle training. So if you go to my website, click on science, there's a bunch of links for dropping down with different ones. Once you're on a published medical website, just punch it in, IMT or inspiratory muscle training. It will both help. Spell it out and then see what pops up. You'll be amazed. And then you realize, wait a minute, that's why everybody is doing it. Because this is the thing. If you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to teach you how to breathe, you go like, dude, I've been breathing since I came out of the womb. We all think we can breathe, but we all do it wrong. Google it. What percentage does breathe incorrect? You will find your Google answer right there. It's you included. The 5% who breathe correctly probably had breathing classes. If you see me in a world title fight like this, and I'm wondering why I'm so tired, Oh my God, every time when I see it, thankfully I won. But I mean, whoa, that's completely gone right now. I come out of a full hard round as this. That's as hard as I go. But before, it was breathing like that. So big difference. Bas Rutten MMA on Instagram, but I don't do a lot of social media. If you follow me for social media, don't. I think it's a lot of waste of time. I do funny things. Sometimes I see something funny, I put it on there. But I don't like to spend a lot of time on it.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Oh.